In Money Watch this morning, as we get ready to gather with family over the holidays, we're going to take a look at conversations to have, talking about wills, estate planning, how to prepare for any emergencies in the new year. It's not an easy thing to talk about, but it's a conversation you have to have.
It sure is. So we're talking to Ted Ashton this morning. He's an attorney specializing in estate planning at Airret Financial Solutions. Good morning, Ted. Let's talk about this. We were just kind of mentioning, but it's not an easy conversation to have. Nobody really wants to talk about it, but it is definitely important in case there is some sort of an emergency.
Absolutely. It's something that everybody wants to kind of push down the road. Unfortunately, we don't like to consider our own mortality, but that is one of the few things in life you can't guarantee.
So what's the simplest thing you can do, the simplest first step to make somebody feel a little bit comfortable that they have taken care of some issues, but they don't have to get too in depth and get stressed out about stuff?
Absolutely. One of the main considerations when you meet with an attorney to discuss your estate planning is we're trying to help pass your property, pass your anything you want to pass down to the next generation without having to necessarily go through a probate. We want to simplify that process as much as possible. We want to consider we have minor children, whether you have children with disabilities, real property versus personal property, land, housing, anything that has a title, making sure that everything is in order so that when you do pass, it's as simple as possible to move that property. The last thing you want is for people who are mourning your loss to now get caught up in a difficult, lengthy court proceeding to transition that property, especially when we have minor children to consider.
Ted, let's talk about this because there are wills, there are trusts, there are so many different things out there. What would you say for folks that maybe have never even thought about this? What is where do you even start when you do this? Is it a will better than a trust or vice versa, or do you need both?
You know, that's an individual consideration. Each person that comes in and meets with me, I kind of go through the makeup of their family, the makeup of their assets, their property. And as we go through that, we start to talk a little bit about what are their desires? What would they want to have happen? A trust is a little bit more complex vehicle, but it provides a lot of tools to transition property very, very smoothly. But if you're in a situation where your assets are a little simpler, say you have a house, your children are all grown, perhaps a simple will with a document that would transition that real property is sufficient. So when you're meeting with an attorney, what you want to do is essentially lay out in front of them what your picture is, what the family looks like, who those people that you would want to receive your property are, the named beneficiaries. Go through and review the types of property that you have, any special considerations, and whether you want property to go to your children while they're still young, at what age, if you have children with any special needs, and then the attorney can make a recommendation.
You mentioned property in Arizona. What are the laws when it comes to property? For example, you have a married couple, only one person is on the mortgage or the deed. What needs to happen to ensure that the rest of the family is taken care of?
Okay, great question. Anytime you're doing your estate planning, one thing the attorney should do with you is review all of your assets and the status of your assets. We're going to look at the title on your house. And if we see an issue like that, that's something you want to get cleaned up sooner than later. The law in Arizona, we're a community property state, so the law kind of presumes that if it was bought by a husband and a wife while they were married using cash assets that they had while they were married, then the law kind of presumes that it's going to transition to the next person. However, even though the law presumes that, that doesn't necessarily mean that the document that you've got in place, the deed, is going to accomplish that in the easiest way possible.
Ted, we just have about 5 seconds left. I'm so sorry to cut you off. Real quick,
problem.
If you maybe have done this in years past, how often do you need to kind of re-up this?
I recommend every 3 to 5 years or any time a major life situation occurs.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks,
Ted, thank you so much for some very important information as we head into the holiday season. So those important conversations to be having with family. Thanks, Ted.
We'll be right back,
Pleasure.
everyone.